forum. I'm Vicki Martin, Forum and Chairman for the League of Women Voters of the Palatine area, which includes Barrington, Inverness, Hoffman Estates, Rolling Meadows, and Schaumburg. We would like to extend our thanks to the Barrington Area Library for the use of their facilities and for the generous help of their staff. I'd also like to thank our volunteers from the local high schools. Founded in 1920 out of the suffragette movement, giving women the right to vote, the League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan political organization that neither supports, opposes, or recommends candidates for office. The League's purpose is to promote responsibility through the informed and active participation of all citizens. Providing this forum allows citizens to become better informed about the issues facing the community and candidates running for office. We're pleased to offer this service for you. In addition, these forums will be recorded and available for you to watch or share by going to lwvpalatinearea.org. As you can see from your program, we'll be holding 2 forums today. The first forum will be candidates running for the Barrington Hills Trustee. Then we will have a brief presentation regarding the upcoming referendum from Dr. Brian Harris, Superintendent of Barrington District 220. We thank the Barrington Area Library and their staff for allowing us to use this facility, as I said before. Then the second forum will be for the trustees of the Village of Barrington. I'm pleased to introduce our moderator for today's forum, Kim Inman. Kim is a member of the League of Women Voters Palatine area, and she will explain the forum, the format, and the rules for today's forum. Thank you, Vicki.
All the candidates were contacted by mail, email, or phone prior to today. The candidates have agreed to abide by the ground rules provided by the League of Women Voters. They are as follows. Candidates have drawn numbers to determine speaking order. I will rotate this order during the forum for questions. Each candidate will have 2 minutes for opening statements. Next, each candidate will have 1 minute to answer questions. I will repeat the question if needed. Each candidate is entitled to a maximum of 2 rebuttals, 30 seconds each. At the end, each candidate will have a 1-minute closing statement. League members will act as timers, they're right in the front row. Candidates will be given a 30-second and a 15-second warning. So please quickly complete your thoughts before you see the stop card. Time limits will be enforced out of respect for all candidates. Questions will be provided by me and our league and the audience. Each question will be answered by all candidates, so audience, please ask questions that pertain to all. League members have index cards available for your questions. We have card runners here, our high school helpers, thank you. You write your questions and pass them to the end of the aisle, so they'll pick them up. Questions will be reviewed for clarity, appropriateness, and to avoid duplication. So if your question doesn't come out exactly how you worded it, please keep in mind we're following those guidelines. Candidates have been asked not to interrupt one another. I will repeat the question and asked, and the candidate should speak directly to the audience. Okay. First, I want to introduce read a statement from a candidate who is not here today. This is from Linda Cools. She says, "Good morning, everyone, and thank you for allowing me to provide this statement. First, I want to communicate to the League of Women Voters and the residents attending this forum my regrets for not attending today. I have had a long-standing commitment as a volunteer to another non-profit that is focused on military veterans associated with St. Patrick's Day. My understanding of the goal of this forum is to familiarize you, the voters, with some of my platform and my campaign pledges. So I'm sure you ask yourself, why elect Linda Cools? As a trustee, I pledge to advocate for full transparency and accountability regarding village contracts, Board of Trustee and Committee meeting video recordings, and all subcontracting entities. Work towards unbiased and honest legislation that honors the rights of all citizens, push towards equal code enforcement, not more legislation. Remove all traces of nepotism in hiring, contracting, and committee assignments. I will work towards reducing property taxes and work to protect and boost our property values. I will preserve the legacy of Barrington Hills and protect open spaces and 5-acre zoning. Why vote for Linda Cools? Because we need a trustee who will take Barrington Hills into the next decade with integrity and principle. I thank you for your time and support. And now we will move on to the candidate statements from the candidates who are present. We have 2 minutes.
Hello, I was told this doesn't work very well. Hello, my name is Brian Kroll. I'm a current trustee. I'm running for re-election. I'm the chairman of the Finance Committee. We've had a very strong performance over the last 4 years at the village. We reduced the property tax levy by 21%. We've implemented new technology, made it easier to find information, especially financial information at the village. We've reduced our full-time staff of 5 down to a full-time staff of 2 and a part-time staff of 2. We have moved the 9/11 dispatch center from inside the village to Quadcom, which works with 11, I believe, different villages and provides excellent service. The police force is very pleased with what the results have been on that. They have communications technology 3 different ways. With all the hills in the village, that's a big problem sometimes, and so we're the most up to date we can possibly be, and it saved us hundreds of thousands of dollars. When we were elected, one of our campaign promises was to oppose the Long Meadow Parkway that had surprisingly not been done prior to our coming in. So the first order of business was to pass a resolution opposing the Long Meadow Parkway, which we did. We also rescinded the law regarding horse boarding. This was a promise that we had made. That law has since been declared unconstitutional by the court. So we are trying to enforce our zoning ordinances, provide efficient government at a lower cost. And I think we succeeded, and I ask for your vote this coming election. Thank you.
My name is Deborah Bittner, and I currently sit on the Zoning Board of Appeals at the Village of Barrington Hills. We have, in the last 4 years, we've had some very interesting items that we've heard regarding ordinances, regarding the application of those ordinances to residents, and it has become apparent to me in the last 4 years that one of the issues in the village is that we probably need to modernize our ordinances. They were drafted decades and decades ago, and so to the extent that those ordinances can be clarified and modernized, I think it will help more efficient administration of the village. We have made a lot of progress in the last 4, 6, 8 years. If you're not familiar with the goings on in the village, there was a period of great animosity 8 or 10 years ago. We're certainly moving in the right direction. As Brian has said, the village has made a tremendous amount of progress in the last 4 years with regard to technology, efficiency, and one of the interesting things is that the trustees predominantly are business owners at this point in time. So we lend a different approach to administering the village than perhaps people who work in other industries do. So that's where the focus has been on efficiency, economy, and getting more done with less. I plan on continuing that with the focus on clarifying the ordinances and really treating everybody fairly and equally and making sure that everyone's rights are upheld no matter who you are. So I would ask for your vote. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Louis Iacobelli. My wife and I, Gigi, have lived in Barrington Hills for 19 years, and we moved here for the equestrian aspects that this village has to offer. My primary vocation is in the software industry. Currently, I'm a success manager at Salesforce. My job in a nutshell is to ensure that customers get value from their investment in Salesforce. My passion is working with customers to increase the value that they receive through business process improvement, innovation, and problem solving, all with the objective of increasing return on investment. I wish to do the same for you as trustee. Barrington Hills is a village of 1,500 homes with an average of $800,000. You could say this is a $1.2 billion corporation of which we are all shareholders. My concerns are these. First, marketing is broken. The current administration has eroded our brand messaging over the last 4 years. If you have any doubt, look at our competing suburbs, Wayne and Meadow. Number two, trust is broken. There is a refusal to sign and commit to an ethics policy. Number three, communications are broken. We get at most 2 loosely worded newsletters a year, which don't tell us very much about what's going on inside our village. And number 4, and most importantly, property values are broken. With 90+ homes in inventory and close to 500 days to sell your home, we have a problem. Surrounding communities have enjoyed a resurgence in property values, but not us. To the best of my ability, I will bring motions and resolutions before the board that drive homeowner value. I will vote for resolutions to increase homeowner value, and I will stand against resolutions that erode value. This is an elite community. We need to get our groove back. If I have the privilege of serving this village as trustee, I will do everything in my power to increase the value of your investment. I respectfully ask for your vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Brian Sokol, and I just want to thank the League of Women Voters for having us today. So thank you very much, and thank you for all coming, taking your Saturday morning for this. As my fellow trustees, Brian Kroll said, about 4 years ago, I was sitting, or actually about 5 years ago, sitting watching some of the ZBA meetings in our town, and I was sitting there with my wife, and there was a lot of controversy going on at that point. And long story short, I didn't like that. I'm a people person, I'm a serving person. I've been the Barrington Line member for 19 years, and our motto is we serve. And as a trustee, that's my motto, I serve for our residents. So at that point, I decided I'm gonna run for election in 2015. With great success, I won. The president at that time asked me to be on road and bridges and public safety. And I said, sure, President, no problem. That's my background is asphalt and snow plowing. So I decided to take on the challenge, which was a great challenge. I never thought I would get to meet so many great people. The phone calls were unbelievable. A lot of people on our roads call. And prior to my election, our roads were only being paved approximately about 3 miles or less. They were being levied for that. They should have been over 4 miles or so at least. I took control in the first year and paved 4 miles of road. And I've continued on paving. Last year, we did 4.37 miles of road. This year, we are going to do 4.0 miles. And I'm implementing a road program going further to keep up at least 4 miles of road. As a lot of you know, driving down Brinker Road and Otis Road, that was one of my biggest challenges and my goals was to get Brinker Road paved. Meeting with Cook County representatives several times, several meetings with the commissioners, and it just kind of talking and letting them know that we need our roads done. And that was a terrible road, dangerous road, and we got that paved. So thank you. I would appreciate your vote, and I look forward to serving the next 4 years for Barrington Hills. Thank you.
One last message before we start the questions. If you would please turn off all your electronic devices. We appreciate it. This forum is being taped for League of Women Voters, use in the education of the public, and the candidates have all agreed to this. Please hold applause until the end, and please do not demonstrate in any way a show of support or non-support for a candidate. There's space outside the room for the candidates to speak to supporters after the forum, and campaign literature will be available. No campaign signs will be posted in this room. No voice, image, or other duplication of the forum may be used by a candidate's representative or campaign in any campaign advertising. The League of Women Voters claims copyright ownership of all recordings or transcripts produced from this event and reserves the right to publicize this forum. Please be respectful of all the candidates and your fellow audience members. Okay. We are going to be alternating the starting a candidate for each question. So we started, we'll start with this, I'm sorry, for the first question. So we'll just move down the line and then we'll keep going with that. All right. You have 2 minutes. What are the most serious challenges facing the village of Barrington Hills, and how do you plan to address them?
So I think the most serious challenges really have to do with modernizing the village. We have a village that for decades was kind of run in a very routine fashion, and the attitude was, well, if it's working, why change anything? We're long beyond that point, and I think that we need to implement more technology. Obviously, we have already implemented a fair amount of technology with regard to FOIA requests, and a lot of those things are required, but they're also very expensive. They're also time-consuming to get set up properly. The village has a new website that is still in process. I'm not sure if websites are actually ever completed, and it needs to be updated. Those challenges are pretty significant. The rest of what is going on at the village, I think, requires people sitting down and actually engaging in conversation to decide how they would like to move the village forward. And so with regard to challenges, I don't think that there's anything extraordinary at this point in time. Our village, in comparative terms, is actually relatively peaceful as opposed to a decade ago. But I think we all need to keep a level head. We all need to stay reasonable. We all need to be able to sit down and have conversations with our fellow residents and come to some sort of resolution, and really promote relationships within the village so that we all get along and we don't have a repeat of what we had 10 years ago.
Sure.
Okay. What are the most serious challenges facing the village of Barrington Hills, and how do you plan to address them?
So if you recall in my opening statement, I look at Barrington Hills like a corporation, a $1.2 billion corporation of which we are all shareholders. Our share of the corporation is our property, and I think our property values are broken. A year and a half sales cycle to sell your home is not good. I think the fact that my home, for example, isn't worth much more than what I paid for it when I moved here in the year 2000. That's not good. The solution, I think there are several things we can take a look at. I think first of all, we have a marketing problem. I actually disagree. I think our website is not good. That is my business. I am in technology. I've built websites in the past. It's not good. I've looked at our competitors. Our competitors are communities that offer rural lifestyle. That would be Meadowa. And wait, take a look at their websites. They're nice. I understand their message. I understand what they offer to prospective buyers. I would like to see our message cleared up, and I would like to see us be very clear about what our value propositions are to people who want to move here. And it's not just equestrian, it's rural lifestyle, it's open space, it's getting up in the morning, going outside, it's green. We were green before green was cool. I would love to see all of those things made very clear to folks who live in Chicago and elsewhere, if this is what you're looking for. In terms of trust, I said trust is broken. I have 3 documents on my website that I would sign. I have 3 ethics policies, 3 sample ethics policies. I would sign any one of them on day 1. Communications are broken. We used to have an awesome communications committee and awesome newsletters. Every trustee was responsible for writing a section of what they did for the community. I would love to see that come back again. That's pretty much it. I think we need to fix our marketing. I think we need to implement an ethics policy. I think we need to tighten up communications and let our residents know at least quarterly, if not through, I'd love to see our village hall meetings streamed and reported. And property values, number 1, front and center. What can we do to increase liquidity in our property values and increase? Thank you.
Mr. Sokola.
Thank you. Seriously, challenges. I'm the Road and Bridges Chairman in Public Safety, and I've got a lot of challenges on my plate. And one of the greatest challenges that I'm implementing, if I do get reelected, which I've been working with our current administrator, is tree trimming drainage and ditch line. As we're gonna pave our roads this year, we are gonna look at all the ditch lines on those 4 miles of roads, and we are gonna continue that as we keep going on all of our road programs. So that's my biggest challenge. As for all you who drive through Barrington Hills, if you have trucks or any trees that are trimming the branches, that's never been implemented. It's always been, if a tree branch goes down, it's time to cut it, or this and this. So I wanna trim up the village a little bit. Keep its beauty, of course, but just the trucks, we had a little issue this year with our snow plowing guys that actually damaged the truck because of the trees. So I'm implementing that and the drainage and the water. I know last summer we had a lot of water issues, a lot of drainage issues. We don't have sewers like they do in the villages, so water's gotta go somewhere. A lot of it just sits. So I'm gonna work on our ditch lines and our ditches. And as communication, I believe we have an excellent communication in our village. I would like to disagree with him, because if you come to my meetings at the Road and Bridges, I communicate back and forth with all residents. We talk, we have dialogues. I get phone calls daily, weekly from residents in regards to our road matters or tree branches. I enjoy the communication, and I think this board, our current board, has a great communication. We talk, we communicate, the residents come and speak, and I have no issues with that at all. That's really all I have. Thank you.
Mr. Cole.
I'd like to second Brian's opinion about our communications. When I was running 4 years ago, I was trying to find financial information about the village and couldn't find it. It was very difficult. I had to go year by year and assemble it all just to see what had been going on. And the first thing I did as the chairman of the finance committee was go to our treasurer and say, hey, can we assemble all this into one document that's accessible on the website? So not only I have it, but all residents have it. It's like a scorecard for how we've been doing. And as I mentioned before, we've reduced property tax by 21%. That means our spending is down an equivalent amount. It's an amazing statistic. And we're aware of no other community in the entire state that can say this. So we're pretty proud of it. And part of that is judging how we're doing compared to the past. So when you're talking about real transparency, that document is incredibly important. It's called, it's one of the schedules, and you can find them on the website, which I also think is perhaps could be improved, but it is a brand new website with beautiful pictures. It has things about the village for realtors to go and look at, and it lays out the history of the village, the activities in the village, et cetera. So certainly an attempt is being made. As far as the biggest challenges, there are two in my opinion. The Long Meadow Parkway and the associated widening of Algonquin Road, that's a big issue. And the other issue is Plum Tree Farms. Both of these issues are somewhat out of our hands. They're being run at a regional or state level. We are attending meetings. There are discussions about different things that we might be able to do with regard to Plum Tree Farms that we may get into here this coming year. And we're participating in the Algonquin Road widening committees and hoping to get some benefit out of that for Barrington Hills.
Thank you. And I misspoke earlier. The question, or the answers will be 1 minute from now.
Oh, 1 minute?
1 minute. All right. So we'll be moving on to Mr. Icabelli to start for the second question. And our second question is, what are your thoughts for a comprehensive land use plan for the village?
Comprehensive land use. Well, going back to you all being shareholders in our corporation, the question you should be asking is, what is the value to your property that a comprehensive land use will bring? Is it going to start to cut down on the different things that you can do with your land? So perhaps cut down on horse boarding, or cut down on the number of chickens or dogs you might be able to have on your property? Then I would say that that would seriously impact the value of your property. So I think that it is important to have a land use idea out there, a comprehensive plan, but we need to be very careful in terms of what we put in that thing so that we don't further erode the value of your investment. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Sokola, what are your thoughts on the comprehensive land use plan?
You know, I believe in the 5 acres that we have, and I believe in keeping our horse boarding and everything exactly the way it's in place right now. We really have no issues in our village at this point. This past 4 years, at least my past 4 years, it has run great. Our president and also our trustee Conisek have done a great job prior to that, and they've been the force also driving this. And as for land use, Barrington Hills is very unique. You can do almost anything you want at Barrington Hills. ATVs, which you can't do in the village, you know. Riding tractors on the streets. I mean, it's a great place to live. So as a comprehensive, I am for 5 acres. I am for saving all the land that we possibly can. And I would not want to change a whole lot. I talked to our residents. They are happy as can be. A lot of residents are happy, and they love living there, and that's why I moved there 8 years ago. Thank you.
The comprehensive land use plan is designed to guide future development and zoning decisions. It does need updating. I think it was updated last maybe 8 or 10 years ago. It reflects our current 5-acre zoning and our desire to stick to it. The activities that we have, the equestrian activities in particular, these things need to be highlighted as well as other activities that people engage in our rural and agricultural environment. I would, and the support of open space. I should mention that I'm the president of the Barrington Area Conservation Trust. I'm in full support of the increase in the amount of open space through the use of conservation easements. This is another thing that I would like to see added to the comprehensive plan.
Thank you.
I think the comprehensive plan is critical to the future of the village. And I think that in the comprehensive plan, we need to really solidify what we experience as a lifestyle today. We need to make sure that that's in writing. We need to make sure that that carries forward. I think that the current comprehensive plan is not reflective of the way that people enjoy the village of Barrington Hills, but I think that it can be modernized and clarified, which needs to be done at some point over the next, at a minimum, the next 4 to 10 years. And it does need to protect everyone so that everybody's activities people are able to continue all of their current activities. And so anyway, it is extremely critical. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next question, we'll start with Mr. Sokola. What is your opinion of the 5-acre rule, and will you continue to support it? If so, please tell us some specifics.
Absolutely, I'm in support of the 5-acre rule, and the horse rule and all that. I mean, I have horses, I have many animals on my farm. Horses, ducks, goats, chickens, dogs, cats. I mean, my wife is more the farm than I am, but I definitely support the 5-acre rule, and I support horse boarding. People in this town, a lot of people move to Barrington Hills for the horse boarding purposes or to have horses. I moved to Barrington Hills to have horses on my property. After paying two horse boarders, I always joke with my wife that I could have had a second home somewhere because they're not cheap. But she loves the animals, I love the animals she has on the property, and it's beautiful. I will continue to support the 5 acres in Barrington Hills. I think it's a great thing to have, and I just love the horses. It's beautiful looking out my back door, seeing those horses in the morning as we have coffee.
Mr. Kroll.
I don't want to be flippant, but the 5-acre rule might be the most uncontroversial issue in Barrington Hills. Everybody who moves to Barrington Hills does so because of the 5-acre rule. We all support it. I don't know, I've never heard anybody say they don't support it. Now, there are developers that sometimes come in and try to break the 5-acre rule, and that's a different issue. We all make the effort to protect land through the conservation organizations that we have in town that maybe can buy some of these development parcels or put conservation easements on them, which is something that we've worked on with some success, including at Horizon Farms. So yes, I am in support of the 5-acre rule, absolutely, and I don't know anybody who isn't.
I would agree that I don't know anyone who is not in favor of the 5-acre rule, except for developers who would like to put in condo complexes and things like that. But going back to the issue of the comprehensive plan, going forward in the village, this is why the 5-acre rule and the comprehensive plan are both so critical, because if we don't make sure that today we protect those things, in 50 years, we will not have 5-acre zoning anymore. And so that is really, as trustees, it would be part of my job to protect and preserve what we have today. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Bell.
Sure, thank you. So I'm going to start sounding like a broken record here, but absolutely 5-acre zoning is a central value proposition to our land. The issue is what is the administration and what is being done to threaten 5-acre zoning? What are the actions, what are the moves that threaten 5-acre zoning? This is a detractor for potential buyers. And in fact, this was the theme of an article written in the Wall Street Journal, that one of the reasons that people are afraid to move or invest in our community is because of the threat that 5-acre zoning might be broken. And if that happens, all hell will break loose. So I think what we need to do is continuously guarantee that 5-acre zoning will never be threatened. We will fight to the death to maintain our 5-acre zoning. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next question, we'll start with Mr. Kroll. What should be done to increase property values in Barrington Hills?
You know, that's a difficult question. So, municipal government, we have a limited, defined set of powers, as it should be. We're not in charge of the market, but there are things that we have done to improve the attractiveness of the village. I think reducing property taxes the way we have shows we're serious people. We're running our government efficiently. We know what we're doing, and compared to everybody else, we're doing it better. That's a really good marketing tool to start with. We are working with area realtors to improve the image of Barrington Hills. We're working through the website. We're doing everything we can to keep calm and peaceful government operative in the village. I think we've done a good job of that. And over time, I think that property values will improve and eventually exceed their former highs.
Thank you. Ms. Bittner, what should be done to increase property values?
I agree that it's a difficult issue, and if I could magically increase property values, I probably wouldn't be sitting here today. I think the village website is important. It is not just a government website that provides government documents, but it actually is sort of a PR branch of the municipality. I think that working with realtors is extremely important. Getting input from them, they're on the ground, and they have a better idea as to what holds buyers back. But I think primarily we need to make people feel as though their rights are protected. We need to make them feel as though 5-acre zoning is protected, and the activities that they conduct today will not be outlawed at some future point in time. And I think that if people had that confidence, they would be willing to invest substantially in the village.
Thank you. Ms. Valley, what can be done to improve property values?
Sure. Yeah, this is a very complicated issue. I think that we have a lot of smart people in this village. We have a lot of folks with MBAs from fancy institutions who understand marketing far better than I do, or any of us. This is their business. I would love to see a committee put together where we talk about how to realize our objective. Our objective is to increase liquidity and to increase homeowner value. So what do? Well, I had one idea. Maybe it's a tax credit for 5 acres. I had another idea. Maybe it's clean up our website and actually have a face to the world that properly shows what our branding is and what we stand for. I have another idea. Let's not communicate to the world through nefarious and nasty websites where we demean each other. Let's do all of our communication to the world through our one main website. Let's tell the world who we are. Let's tell the Chicago who we are, with one voice instead of multiple voices. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Sicalo, what what should be done to increase property
Oh,
values?
that is a very tough question. And you know, I'll go back and start with communication, the website, talking to realtors, beautifying our town, telling your friends and neighbors why you want to live in Barrington Hills. We tell our friends why we're here, why we moved there, because of what you can do. And we start by our roads, which were all done previously years ago poorly. They were not being done enough. We start trimming the trees. We start making it beautiful again, which it is still beautiful. But trim back a little bit, and again, talk to local realtors, which we are talking to. And houses are selling. Yes, it takes some time. It's not a good market, but that's just all around also. But as a governing body, it's very difficult to regulate that on housing market. It's tough. It's tough out there. But talking to people, talking to your friends and neighbors also can help, and that's what we do. Just tell everybody about Barrington Hills and how beautiful it is, and it's a great place to live.
Thank you. So the next question goes to Ms. Bittner. What are your thoughts on impact fees for future development?
I hadn't really considered impact fees. I am familiar with them as an attorney. A lot of municipalities have impact fees. They could be utilized depending on what sort of development you are addressing. And that's my entire thought on impact fees.
All right, thank you. Mr. Iacobelli, what are your thoughts on using impact fees?
Yeah, sure. So for those of you who don't know, basically an impact fee is a fee that the government would impose on developers. So if someone were, for example, buy that farm out in back of me and want to develop 5 acres, our village, I would hope, would charge an impact fee to that developer to pay for all the infrastructure, rather than that infrastructure coming off of your dime and increasing our taxes with actually no value to us. So yes, impact fees are very important. If you want to develop in our town, you need to pay to play. You need to pay, I shouldn't say that. You need to pay. Let's try that. You need to pay for the infrastructure to support, you know, the roads and sewage and all that sort of stuff. You don't need to get that either. You need to pay for the roads and the schools and everything to support your development. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Sacolo, what are your thoughts on impact fees for future development?
Well, for one, I am against any big future development in Barrington Hills, so I would definitely not even want that in our town. But if it's gonna happen, and if we do lose control or have no control of that matter, I've said years ago when I moved through impact fees, why didn't they impose that in the village of Barrington? We built all these houses in South Barrington, especially for the school district, to help out the school district. I would definitely support impact fees, but again, I do not support big development in our community at all, and I would go on the record as that. But if it does happen, and there is no way to stop something to come in for development, I would definitely impose impact fees for our roads for sure, because our roads do take a beating. They are small, they're only 18 feet wide to 20 feet wide. These are not big, thick roads. We take care of our roads, we love our roads, and I'm gonna keep saying roads because I'm the Road and Bridges Chairman.
Thank you. Mr. Kroll, what are your thoughts on impact?
Finance. I'm the finance commissioner. Impact fees are a complex question. It hasn't come up in my 4 years. So I'm going to have to sort of talk in general terms. Impact fees are going to impact on the owners of property looking to sell by decreasing the value of that property. If we're trying to encourage higher prices, impact fees may discourage higher prices. That's a concern. The impact fees themselves, Louis mentioned for roads. Well, I think if there is a development, we would want the roads to be private. If they are going to be public, I think that is a reasonable trade-off for the cost of those roads. I think this is the kind of analysis you would want to go through before we ever pass something like this. We don't have them now, to my knowledge, and I would want to seriously study this before I implemented anything as serious as an impact fee.
Thank you. We're starting with Mr. Iacobelli next. The question is, the village outsourced 911 services a few years ago, and there have been complaints about poor response time. What are your views or plans to keep residents safe through 911 services?
Wow. I was not in favor of outsourcing 911. I thought that was potentially dangerous move. Basically, we instead of having people answer your phone calls, your 911 calls who live in the village, we outsource that to other villages. So when you call from your mobile phone or your home, a lot of times there's a problem trying to find where exactly you're calling from. And we spent a lot of money outsourcing that. There was a lot of debate and a lot of conversation around that. I'm actually an EMT. I have a tremendous amount of respect for first responders and pre-hospital care. And I don't know what the answer is. Whatever the answer is, it's going to cost money. Whether you bring 911 back, that's going to be a cost. So the question I would have to grapple with is, how is this going to increase our value? What is the cost of the value having outsourced, and what will be the cost, and what will be the gain if we bring it back?
Thank you. Mr. Petrola, what are your views or plans to keep residents safe through 911 services?
Yes, I was in favor of this consolidation. Anytime it improves the safety of our residents, this is a huge move. Our dispatch center now is the highest tech, and it's with 10 other towns in there. Those 911 dispatchers are trained well more higher than our current people were at the village. And being a fireman for 15 years in the village of Barrington here, I saw a lot. Let me tell you, response is key. And it's critical when those dispatchers, when you dial 911, that they're there to help who's ever calling their phone. And it saved a little bit of money, yes, but it improved the safety of the residents well over that, way over that. And that's what I was for the safety of our residents. I'm on the Quadcom dispatch board also, and our police supported this. I haven't heard of no residents calling and complaining at all about this. I can call the non-emergency, and I get them right on the phone right away. That's what we do, and again, it was more to improve the safety of our residents, which is key and number one. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Kroll, what are your views or plans to keep residents safe through 911 services?
Well, I don't think that the consolidation to Quadcom is a problem here, if there is a problem, and I'm not aware of one. The reason is when you pick up the phone and call Quadcom, they pick up immediately. Then they contact our police immediately. If the police take a while to get there, it's because we have a gigantic village and, relatively few police officers on duty at any given time. So that's always been the case. It's certainly not the dispatcher's fault that it might take a long time to get somewhere. And we do have, through Quadcom, a very knowledgeable dispatchers, including at least one I know of that used to work for Barrington Hills. So they also have 3 different ways to radio our police officers, and that is better than what we had before, and newer technology, and mapping technology. It's really amazing, and this was the right thing to do. Response times, I think, are, if anything, just the result of police officers being rather far away from the call.
Thank you. Ms. Bittner, what are your plans to keep residents safe through 911 services?
I think that the move to Quadcom also was a very good idea. Currently, if you had 2 or 3 people responsible for answering 911 calls, with Quadcom, you have substantially more than that. In today's world where people are not necessarily as reliable perhaps as they used to be, having more people answering the 911 calls is critical, because that way when you dial 911, someone will actually be there and be able to answer the call promptly. I think it also helps to protect the village by virtue of the fact that Quadcom has access also to perhaps call in other emergency services if necessary. If something very, very large were to happen in the village, they would have better, probably quicker response with regard to calling in more assistance than previously.
Thank you. Okay, our next question starts with Mr. Sokola. Regarding the Long Meadow Parkway, do you support the bicycle path along Route 62 as part of the IGOT LMP improvements? And how do you propose protecting residents' property rights?
Another tough question, thank you. Well, as a lot of the residents know that the Long Meadow Parkway was done years ago before our administration. There was never a resolution to not support it. When we came on 4 years ago, we made a resolution to support that. As for the bike lanes on Route 62, and back to Long Meadow, because I'm not going to admit, I've known a lot of those residents who live on those roads, one-on-one and with the county, trying to help them as much as I could, being the Road and Bridges chair. But as for the bike lanes on 62, I'm not on the actual 62 committee, but I did go in place for our president at one point, talking there, and we are being proactive. We are going to try to get an underpass for the horses, or in the walk path underneath, make it taller for the horses, for bikers in the trails. We are working with them. We're being proactive because it's probably going to happen, but if it's going to happen, we want to make sure it's on our grounds and on our terms also, that we do have some say in that. I would like to go on further on that, but I guess I'm out of time.
Thank you. Mr. Kroll, do you support the bike path, and how do you propose protecting residents?
Well, what I know about the bike path is that it's I believe it's a state initiative to connect up some bike paths that are to our west and to our east. And this is a common thing that the state does to promote bicycling as an alternative form of transportation, and is also a way to, it's an activity for people to do. I don't think that, our position matters very much to the state on the matter of the bike path. I think the larger issue is the widening of 62 in general. I'm not really in support of it. I think it's good for the residents to our west and to our east, but it's not really good for Barrington Hills at all. It's going to make it really tough to cross Sutton and Bateman. It's a big concern, and it's been on the planning books for decades, and now they're moving to the phase 1 study, and it looks like they are intent on moving forward with this. So to have 4 lanes of traffic through Barrington Hills, I'm not in support of.
Thank you. Ms. Bittner, do you support the bicycle path along Route 62? And how do you propose protecting residents' property rights?
I'm not sure if I'm in support of the bike path. I've looked at the issue, I've read a lot about the issue, I've heard from people who are not bicyclists, and I've heard from people who are bicyclists. I know that if I rode bicycles a lot, I would definitely not be wanting to ride right along the side of a highway, because I would be afraid that someone would actually hit me and take me out. So, I think that there might be other solutions, but I think Brian is correct in that there is a substantial network of bicycle paths to the east, there's a substantial network of bicycle paths to the west, and the goal that they have to try to connect those is certainly understandable, but there are other routes. There is more access along Higgins Road, and putting the bicycle paths down there would accomplish the same thing for the people in Palatine and the people in Dundee, without impacting the village of Barrington Hills.
Thank you. Ms. Accarelli, do you support the bicycle path, and how do you propose protecting residents' property rights?
Yeah, you ask a yes/no question, and the answer is yes. Here's why. The Long Meadow Parkway is a slow-moving train that started moving years and years and years ago. It's well underway. It's going to happen like it or not. Bicycle paths, probably part of the plan. We don't really have a choice. The bicycle paths could add some value. First of all, we would like to see cyclists kind of feathered or taken off of our roads. That would be nice. I live on Deepwood Road. As much as I like cyclists and on Deepwood and Bateman, oftentimes they do, pack up or don't go single file. I think cycling is a great thing, and it would be pretty good to give them another route rather than necessarily cycling through our neighborhood. The question you should be asking though is what can we get out of this deal, right? There's a negotiation going on. There's goodies being handed out. We better have a seat at the table to get our fair share. Let's get our piece. If land is going to get taken away from us, what are we going to get for it? That's where I think we should be focusing our attention, is getting our share. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question, we'll start with Mr. Cole. Audio recordings of village trustee and committee meetings are available on the village website. What is your opinion of using live or recorded video?
My general opinion is it's overkill. We've looked into this problem in 2018. Our village clerk, Nikki Panos, talked to at least 5 different villages in the area who do it. They came back and said, you know, this thing is kind of a technological beast. It goes down a lot. If you have a full-time tech person, sure, go ahead and do it. But if you don't, we recommend against it. This is actually what our clerk reported back to us. We do record our meetings. They are available online within about 24 to 48 hours after our meetings. They are searchable. They are on the website. So anybody who's curious what we're talking about can tune into those. The cost of putting in video is quite high. I mean, we were getting numbers as high as $80,000 for this kind of thing. And then, you know, a couple $1,000s a month. And that's not money the village has to spend on something that we're already doing. In an ideal world, maybe we would do it, but I think in a world of limited resources, this is not the best way to spend our money.
Thank you. Ms. Bittner?
I think that video recording is an issue. It would be nice to have everything video recorded, frankly, because then we could all stay at home and we wouldn't have to attend events even like this. I think it's not practical to video record absolutely everything, nor is it cost effective. There might be a way that we could, if we're having a meeting where a very important issue is being discussed, there might be a way that we could set up a system so that if residents request, you know, if more than 1 or 2 residents request that it be video recorded, that's accomplished. But for routine meetings where we spend hours and hours, especially at the zoning board, looking at a sentence or determining the meaning of a word, I just think having an extra person staying around to be able to operate the equipment is probably a waste of personnel time and not something that they look forward to. We tend to meet fairly late in the evening, and so to ask a village employee to stay there until 9 o'clock so that we can be video recorded and having a discussion about a sentence is probably a bit much.
Thank you. Mr. Iacobelli, what are your thoughts on using live or recorded video for trustee and committee meetings?
I think it's really important that the meetings are video recorded and streamed. I don't think it necessarily costs a lot of money. We're being video recorded right now by a gentleman with his iPhone. I'm not saying that that's necessarily the equipment, but it's not this daunting, expensive challenge that we all think it is. I would love to be able to, on times when I can't make meetings, to take a look at what's going on or go view meetings in the rear. As far as trustee meetings, there's 12 of them a year, and they're, a couple of hours. The other problem I have with trustee meetings, by the way, is they kind of squish around. I did my homework when I looked at them. I think 2 trustee meetings occurred on a Tuesday. 8 of them were on the 4th Monday, which they're supposed to be on, and then 2 of them were on the 3rd. So for those of us who can't keep up with the schedule, a live cast would be pretty nice. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Cipolla, your thoughts on video?
Yeah, I'm in agreement with Trustee Crowe. We did investigate this and had a lot of numbers, and it was very expensive. As for the audio, that's available, as he said, 24 to 48 hours after every meeting worldwide. I mean, you can get that anywhere. If you want to listen, to recordings, or if you want to, we do have residents who come in, as this gentleman is, and he's streaming it live. Great. If you want residents who want to do that, I'm all for that. But for the cost of the $80,000+ and the monthly fee for our residents, when we track the amount of residents that are going to listening to our recorders, are about 3 to 4 only a month of our residents who are even going to these just to listen to them. It just wasn't worth the cost. But as for the meetings online, I would say they are on a calendar a whole year in advance. So there should be no ifs and ands as to when the meeting is. If you go to the calendar right now, every meeting is listed for the whole year. It just takes someone to go to the computer and just check it out, or our website. Thank you.
Thank you. Now it's time for our final question. We'll start with Ms. Bittner. The Daily Herald called Village of Barrington Hills hardworking and delivering on promises. A community that works hard and delivers on promises. How can you continue this positive trend and develop a sense of community?
I think that you can continue the positive trend by more hard work. I think the current administration has done a lot to resolve a lot of the problems that existed in the past. I think that we need to start turning our focus to the next decade or 2 decades or 50 years. We need to start being more future thinking to be able to basically lock in some of the privileges that we have today in the village, lock in our property rights, provide protections for everyone, and at the same time, guarantee that everyone gets treated fairly and equally, and that there is transparency. And I, if I'm elected, will work on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Accavelli? How will you continue the positive trend, build a sense of community in Barrington Hills?
Thank you. Let's not kid each other. These folks are all volunteers. This is a hard job. All of us have other things that we could be doing with our time. So we do owe those who serve the village a debt of gratitude. That said, I think there are things we can focus on. I think marketing is very important. I think communications, I think quarterly communications and more communications with the residents through the website is very important. I think restoring trust is important, and ethics policy makes sense. And most of all, coming together as a community, forming a committee and figuring out this problem, how do we increase liquidity in our village? How do we increase the value of our assets?
Thank you. Mr. Sokola, how can you
Sure.
continue the positive trend?
Positive trend. I think right now our current board, we are one big, great group. The whole current board. We work together. This last 4 years has been a great trend in the village. And I just think we work as a team. There's not 2 or 3 or 4 against one or one against 2. We work as a team, our village board. So this positive trend that we've turned, I believe, in the last 6 years, since President McLaughlin and Trustee Anthony Consick got on, there was a lot of turmoil. And the positive trend was backwards, I thought, at that point. That's why I got involved. Now it is definitely a positive trend in the upward, going forward. I enjoy being on the board. I enjoy serving the residents in our community. And I love going to our board meetings, and I love having my Road and Bridges meeting because we just love to smile and just take it to everybody's questions to heart. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Kroll?
I think part of the way we continue to move forward in a positive direction is by taking pride in our work. I grew up in Barrington Hills. I really care about the village. I want to see it succeed. I work hard on the tasks that I'm given on the committee level and at the board level to try to understand the problems that were being presented and come up with good solutions that would be supported by the residents and that are defensible, they're cost effective. I think by doing the job well and correctly and conscientiously, we will continue to move forward in the positive direction that we've created these past 4 years.
Thank you. And now it's time for closing statements. You have 1 minute for your closing statement. We'll start with Mr. Accavelli.
First, thank you to Vicki Martin and the League of Women Voters for hosting this forum. So what I would say is this. Clearly, there's a lot of room for improvement. I am a self-funded candidate who's very passionate about Barrington Hills. As I said earlier, this is an elite community, and we need to get our groove back. I'd like to focus on fixing marketing, restoring trust, restoring communications, and restoring property values and liquidity. If I am voted, I will do everything. If I'm voted in as trustee, I will do everything I can to improve the value of our investment in the community. Thank you again for taking the time to meet with us this morning, and I respectfully ask for your vote.
Mr. Sokola?
Thank you again, as I said, I'm opening remarks for all you coming out on this Saturday morning. Sunshine and spring is finally here. As I said in the beginning, my motto is I serve, and I serve the people of Barrington Hills, I serve our town and our residents, and I will continue to do that if I am reelected. My pledge is to continue to keep going on our roads, improve our roads, and our beautification of our streets and our trees and our ditch lines and our water drainage. And I'm also on the public safety chairman also and improve more of our public safety. But again, I pledge to you, as all residents of Barrington Hills, I would ask for your vote. Please vote April 2nd. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Mr. Kroll?
We've been able to reduce spending and taxes by 21% over the last 4 years, but the next 4 years, it's not going to be that easy. We've squeezed a lot of the easy efficiencies out of the system. We're running lean. The police and staff get regular annual raises, as they should. insurance goes up every year, our costs do. So to continue to find ways to save money is something that we're going to focus on these next 4 years and try to deliver the kind of results that we have these last 4. Thank you.
I think over the next 4 years, we need to sort of solidify our future vision of the village itself. We need to work on protecting property rights, protecting individual freedoms, and at the same time, treating everyone equally, treating everyone fairly, and making everyone feel as though they have a place to go if they do have a problem, and that there are people who will respond to whatever their concerns are. Thank you very much.
Please join me in thanking our candidates.